Okay, let me invite our next presenter. And you know, as this association travels around the world, you know, we always try to engage people in the local area. And Dr. Dooley, with her colleagues at the American Farm School, have done a phenomenal job in getting people associated with the American Farm School engaged in our conference. And I'm very pleased that we have a presentation from the Farm School. So I'll let you introduce yourself and your co-authors.
So, my name is Zinoviadou. I would also like to welcome you to our beautiful city of Thessaloniki. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Food Science and Technology at Gertsis College that is placed at the American Farm School, and I saw some of you who met yesterday during the olive oil tasting. So the co-authors of this work are Dr. Athanasios Gertsis and Dr. Konstantinos Rotsios. And actually what I will present is a project that we are working on, and it's a quite unique project, at least we think so. And it's about training and creating meaningful networks among olive oil producers. It's a case study from the Mediterranean region. This project is funded by NEMED. It's an EU-funded project, and it's called Atoli. So, as far as olive oil production is concerned, of course, you probably already know the highest production is found in the EU, which is about 65%. Interestingly though, we see also an increase in production in other countries, and the most important new players, let's say, in the field are Tunisia, Morocco, and also Turkey. Also, we see that 15% of the whole production is taken by the, as we say, new countries, because we see that the olive oil sector is following a bit the route that the wine industry has led. So nowadays we see a lot of plantations taking place in countries that are not so, up to now at least, are not so much connected with the sector. So we see new plantations in Chile, in Argentina, in Australia, and in the US, of course. There's been quite a culture in California, but we see an increase in the production there as well. As far as the EU is concerned, it is really interesting to point out that more than half of the production is in Spain. So in Spain, basically, we have 1/3 of the global production. It's amazing, but it's almost half of it of the global production. It's really, really a huge amount. While this is it, for some reason the colors are not that clear. This part is Italy. Okay, here we have Portugal, and here we have Greece. So, in Greece we have about 15% of the European production. Although we see differences in the sizes, we can tell that the farmers in all the countries more or less share the same problems and the same fears. And the most important thing is that a lot of these are small producers that they only have small pieces of land. And another issue that we face, especially in Greece, is that the farmers have their land spread in different places. So maybe they cultivate 10 hectares, but 1 hectare will be in one place, and then the other will be like 5 kilometers away, and so on. This is due to the fact that a lot of the orchards are old orchards that were inherited by the family, but also it's due to the geography of the place, because as you've seen, the region is quite hilly, and we do not really have continuous big orchards. And this is valid for all cultivations. So actually, all these problems and all these concerns have led to the development and the submission of a proposal for a project that, as I said, is funded by the EU, and the coordinators of this project are from Israel. The really interesting thing about this project is that we have participants from Israel, from Palestine, so there is also a cultural combination, let's say, Corsica, Greece, Spain, and Cyprus. And the idea was to, and still is, to establish, as it's called NOREC, a native olive regional knowledge center in each of the countries. And from there on, the knowledge will be given and a lot of advising will be given to producers. The other uniqueness of this project is the fact that the beneficiaries also received some funding. So there was a selection process, as we will explain, and each one of the selected farmers, who were 5 in the case of Greece, received 12,000 euros. That, believe me, for Greek farmers, it's a quite important amount of money. While also 2 olive millers, they received the funding that was 10,000 euros. Another interesting thing about the concept is the fact that we want to see the whole we want to see the olive sector holistically. Because what we've noticed is that a lot of the producers, they know quite a lot of things about the primary sector, the cultivation, and they are also willing now to adapt new technologies and become more IT, let's say, literate. But we have really, really big difficulties in convincing the farmers to apply new business models and actually to really become successful businessmen. We see a lot of people in Greece, that a lot of producers, that they just sell their olive oil in bulk because it's easier. They don't have to go through the process of marketing and branding, or even if they try to do it, they don't really do it in a very, very effective way. Because instead of collaborating as large groups and increasing the tonnage that they can sell, we see only individuals' attempts that in most of the cases they fail after a couple of years. So the idea is to provide to this group of beneficiaries in each country by the NORECs that are established there, advice and consultants on the primary sector, but also on financial and business. Thank you. So it's the project management team that it's in Israel that has actually transferred a lot of knowledge to the NORECs, and then from the economic NOREC and the business, all this knowledge is transferred to the olive farmers and the olive mill. This, of course, is coupled with new technologies. So actually, an application has been developed. It is the Artolio application, where all the beneficiaries, they have to add electronically all the information about their business. So they put the inputs, the expenses, the income, also the amount of money, for instance, they spend to buy new equipment, and so on. Believe me, for the Greek standards, this is quite innovative, because people are mostly used, just keeping notes and not being they're not so familiar with using software that is suitable for that. The second in the second stage, and this is actually what is going on the last months, the second stage is the development of a sales platform as well, where all the producers from the Mediterranean region that are participate will be able to promote the products and also to sell them. So we really get them more and more introduced in e-commerce and also in the idea of collaboration and working as a group. So the Socrates in our case, I don't know if you can see the little stars. So Thessaloniki is here. And it's here, sorry.
It looks very good on this screen.
Yeah, so Thessaloniki is here, and a group of Socrates consisting of an oil mill with 3 farmers are in the region of Kavala, while the other set of beneficiaries are in the region of Chalkidiki. We really had to make sure that the millers would work with specific groups of producers, because for olive oil production, it is really important to have to follow the whole chain. Because maybe a producer produces the best olive fruit in the world, but if it's processed in a wrong way, let's say in a mill, then the final product will be a disaster. Our beneficiaries, their age is from 31 to 66 years old. It's 6 male and 1 female. So, okay, we should improve a bit the male to female ratio. Another interesting thing that we found out is that only 4 out of them have previously attended seminars. So we see that there is a lack in knowledge, and there is really need for education and for training. And 4 out of them have the olive business as a basic occupation, because it's also common in Greece to work as a farmer partly, so to have a basic occupation and also do some other activities related with the agricultural sector. The first thing that we have to do after the selection was to do a lot of seminars. At that time, they were all provided online because of COVID. So it's really interesting to see that the topics range all the way from irrigation and pest management to introduction to finance and literacy. So we really want to introduce them not only to things that are related with the production itself, but also to the management of the business and e-commerce and other things. Among apart from the trainings, we also provide them on-site consultancy. So we visit them regularly, and we really do together a lot of practices and apply new techniques and related to irrigation, the lowering of inputs, because the EU legislation is becoming very, very strict. The Green Deal, which is the new legislation that has come, really obliges us to lower down the inputs by 2030. So we really have to make sure that we follow the more environmental friendly practices. So I'll just take a few minutes to talk about our beneficiaries. The first miller is actually a lady, the lady of the group. It's really interesting because she has a mill that was built in 1965, so it's a quite old olive mill. And for her it was very interesting, in order to improve, to buy new equipment. So actually, it was really, after the visit of the Israeli partners, it was suggested that she will get a filter, which is really crucial for the olive business, and also some pumps. Yes, please. And we also have a farmer from that area, from the area of Kyriaki, that he owns olive trees, as you can see, quite old. So they are 25 years old, and he's cultivating the local variety of Kyriaki. Please. And this one actually is quite advanced already because he has his own brand. It's the olive oil that is called Yannis. It can be even found in the US. And interestingly, with his wife, they're really pioneers in the field. They have developed a new olive oil that contains, by applying the appropriate agricultural practices, they manage to get olive fruits that gives us an olive oil that contains a lot of bioactives. So actually they have done, in collaboration with the School of Pharmacy studies, that show that the consumption of this specific oil prevents Alzheimer's disease. So they are really examples. That's why we're very happy to have them in the group, because they can be role models for the rest. And we really try to bring all of them together, so all of them will get in the end the best practices and learn from each other, because we really feel that this is the way to proceed and improve. And then we have this is the youngest member of the group. He's just 31 years old, again in the region of Kyriaki. He also has his own brand with very fancy packaging, because this is another trend. He's actually an agriculturist himself, so he's also very good in cultivation. Yes, please. And then we move to the group of Kavala, and this is the other way around. So in the first group, we have an old mill, but two very advanced producers. In this case, we have a very high-tech, let's say, mill that was just built 3 years ago, but the producers are actually quite new in the field. This is an olive mill that gives excellent olive oil that was actually awarded last year by being a finalist for the Mario Solinas Award. This is like the Oscars in the world of olive oil. It's really a good thing. Yes, please. But the problem with this miller is that in his region, most of the farmers give the olives for table olive production when the price is good. And actually, this is what happened the last year. So it's really a big issue in his dream to create a group of farmers that will reassure him a constant amount of olives per year at a good price, of good quality, of course. And then there are three farmers that are working next to us and collaborating with this farmer, that are really new in the field. The trees are all 5, 7, 10 years old. But the very interesting thing about those is that because they're new in the field, they are really open to new things. So we already installed in their orchards, meteorological stations by using the money that was provided, and they really want to be more and more introduced to new technologies. You can pass. So just images of the orchard, because we're really happy and proud of the orchard. Yes. So as I mentioned, although we have this group, a very nice project, there are still some challenges and problems that, of course, we would like to overcome upon the completion of the project. And this is the same for all the countries. This is what we've learned. We had a meeting actually with the project last week in Spain. we see that there are a lot of fluctuation in production due to the extreme weather conditions, and due to the climate change, this is getting worse and worse. I mean, the last 2 years have been just hectic. We cannot predict anything nowadays. And of course, if you cannot predict your production, then it's very difficult to define new markets and be sure that you always have a constant amount and a constant quality. So this is what we really want to reassure in the end, that we will produce constant quality and quantity, of course by controlling diseases and other difficulties. And last but not least, we want really to make sure that we will help all these beneficiaries in organizing their business financially.
Questions?
Yes, please.
I know yesterday you mentioned that there wasn't a cooperative system for the olive growers in Greece, and then that was a potential barrier for them being able to enter bigger global markets. Is this kind of like an entry strategy to help kind of create some more consistency among the grower groups to potentially have that impact?
So we really, as I mentioned, we have only a few cooperatives in Greece, but we really need them in order to enter large markets because they are asking for large tonnage. I mean, if you want to, they are asking for like 1,000 tons and even larger amounts. And there we do not have producers that can really produce that much. So we really feel that since these projects and ourselves promoting these activities and promoting the collaboration will actually help moving towards this direction. And one of the millers has already been convinced, so now he wants to organize a cooperative with at least 10 farmers in his region. It's a start. I'm sure he's a very a person that has a lot of goals and
Very motivated.
exactly. He really wants to move on, so I'm sure it will be successful. And another thing we've noticed in Greece, but also the partners from Israel, and in general, it's a Mediterranean mentality. They've told us that people are actually motivated by role models. So if they see that someone is becoming successful, and most importantly, financially successful, by applying certain practices, then they really try to follow such models.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions?
Just one quick question. The micro projects of the fund sounded interesting. They gave them more capacities, let's say. Was there a lot of farmer training as part of it, or was there more?
Yes, so I already showed a few topics that they were trained on, but we have on-site training all the time, so we visit them, and I was there working with the millers during the olive oil production, and now we had a seminar on pruning that was on the field, and regarding the financial aspects, we went there and we taught them how to use the app. So there is more like generic training, but also then case by case on the side of each one of the farmers. And this is the best way, actually. We've really seen that.
Outside of the olive industry and in Greece, are farmers' associations and co-ops a common practice?
There are certain cases that are successful, but there are two cooperatives, let's say, for each category. We have a very successful one for apples, and then a very successful one for apricots, but it's a few bright cases, let's say, in the agro-food sector. But we really have to focus more on that. If we want to be competitive as a country, we really have to focus more on that.
Couple more questions? Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest challenge for farmers to get together and cooperate or being involved in cooperatives?
I think it's a matter of mentality. I mean, we're not really used to cooperating that much because, especially in the olive sector, the problem is that it's an old sector, and most of the people they think they know, and they think they know what they learned from the grandparents, and it goes generations back. The case of the mill that I showed you in Kavala, it's new, and the farmers there are relatively new. So we believe that one of the reasons that there is more hope there is the fact that they do not really have something that is set, something that is established, so it's easier to teach them new things. They are more open-minded, let's say.
Thank you. Probably time for one more, if there's any other questions.
Is there planning or possibility to bring in more Greek farmers into Neftos, into this cooperative? Or is it limited by the funding by
So
the
for the funding, this is how we started, and it's just for the funding. But of course, the idea is to continue like that. It's just that they will not get the money, the budget that they received in the beginning. That's the thing. But the knowledge, we really want the knowledge to be transferred and be open to everyone who wants to participate.
Awesome. Let's thank our presenters.